Hey everyone, it's Sleepy Reader, aka Damien. It's a nice hot day, the kind of day that I enjoy actually being out in my backyard in the shade. I like being in the backyard more than being in the house for whatever reason, although it's nice and cool in the house. Unfortunately, out here in the back, I have to hear the sound of everybody's air conditioners going on. But anyway, this is my comic book thoughts. I had 9 comics that I bought. What was it? Like July 13th. I bought on Wednesday, July 13th. And I enjoyed all of them. I'd say 2/3 of them, though, left me with kind of, yeah, that's fine. That's good kind of feeling. But not like I could take it, a kind of a take it or leave it kind of feeling, too. So I think I'll be dropping a few more of these comics. And we'll see if this is shorter than one of those 15 comic book weeks. We'll see if that continues to be a trend. And at the end, I'll show you some books I picked up at the library, some graphic novels. Other than that, not a lot going on. But anyway, Archer and Armstrong Forever came in at number 9. This is issue number 3 of Archer and Armstrong. The wind's picking up. It continues to have kind of this okay art, and I loved the sense of humor in issue 1, and it's slowly been dissipating for me. It's still funny. It's still a funny book. It's kind of following the mode of, we have to keep in each issue we have to have a few more wild and crazy things happen. So they were wrestling this troll, and the troll turns out to be a she, but a very hairy kind of she troll. So first I had thought it was a he in the previous issue. I'm not sure if I just wasn't paying attention or they kept that fact hidden. And she is slightly humorous. And then they've gone to some wild other place, gone through some kind of gateway and ended up in some place with dinosaurs and stuff, and they're trying to find their way out. And then some other bizarre antagonist shows up. And there was a funny moment where, let's see, I think it was Armstrong. So Armstrong is the one who's strong. He has strong arms. And Archer is good with weaponry, and especially archery, I guess, although he does very little archery here. I guess he uses overdue library books and a fire extinguisher. The interesting thing is I know that Armstrong has his bag along, and I know this bag is semi-infinite and has all kinds of things in it. So I'm surprised they don't use it more often to pull interesting things out. Let's see. What did I... I guess I can't find the little quote I wanted to read to you. Oh well. Anyway, it's a perfectly okay kind of fun comic. But I don't know. It's just not generating as much excitement in me as it might. And Space Lady was kind of cool in a way. It had what might either be considered kind of zine art style, or maybe this is webcomics art style, and kind of a joke on superheroes and on the idea of superheroes who have robots to help them fight, like the Silver Age Superman, told in kind of a sloppy, funny way. But at the end of the day, I don't know. It didn't move beyond that. And I guess when you're paying $4 a comic, $4 an issue, it left me feeling like maybe one issue is enough. It might just depend on my mood the next time when issue number 2 comes out. I'm assuming there is an issue number 2. I do just kind of enjoy that everything coming out from Behemoth Comics is going to be different than any other Behemoth comic. And I enjoy the surprises. It's it's a nice little package, high quality cover stock and nice coloring and everything. So I enjoyed it. I just at the end of the day sort of, oh yeah, that's kind of fine. That's kind of familiar, kind of amusing. Harrow County, Tales from Harrow County #3. I could have sworn I asked my shop to drop this, but maybe I forgot to do it. It's another perfectly okay comic. I liked the drawing and the coloring. I don't think it's colored by Tyler Crook anymore. Yeah, it's just lettered by Tyler Crook. Emily Schnall, who does the art, also colors it, I think. It's a very nice looking comic, and it's a mildly interesting story, but I just don't feel super excited, super motivated. I'm not that into you might say, to the characters here. They're okay characters. Maybe they're characters that I should also already know from the original Harrow County series, and maybe that would make the experience different. However, I have all the Harrow County in hardbacks, but I haven't read any of it. I've only read Tales of Harrow County, which is kind of silly. Yeah, I do like the artwork. It might be something. There may only be one more issue anyway, but it seems like something more I might like when it's all collected in a hardcover with all the Tales of Harrow County. By the way, I'm drinking Laurel Wood Workhouse IPA. Laurel Wood is a Portland brew pub that distinguishes itself by being kind of a family-friendly pub. However, my daughter has never drunk any of their beer. I'm not sure why. She won't try beer, no matter how hard I push it on her. Ordinary Gods, #6. I had forgotten that I had this on my pull list. I guess the last issue came out in December, I think. And I don't remember liking it a whole lot. I don't remember hating it or anything. I remember sort of thinking it was just okay. And so as soon as I saw that it was back in my pull list, I just told the shop owner to drop it, take it off my list. And he offered to let me not buy this issue, but I felt like I'd made my commitment to that, so I didn't want him to be stuck with it. But then, surprisingly, I thought this issue was more interesting than what I remember of the previous issues, which was basically that there are these gods from another realm who've been exiled by some more victorious set of gods to planet Earth to be endlessly reincarnated and usually not remember their previous lives, or occasionally come back to their memory. And now for some reason they're all remembering, and they're getting together and plotting things. And one of them has decided there's some machine called the God Machine, which is what plucks their souls every time they die. Instead of it going back to the God realm, it plucks their souls and puts them back into another human body. So this god has figured out that it's somewhere on Earth. She doesn't know where. She can't find it. So she's just going to destroy all of Earth. So she's made billions of dollars and collected a bunch of used nuclear submarines and is going to use them to start a nuclear war with mercenaries who believe they're fighting Antifa. The art was good. The characters were kind of interesting and stuff. I don't remember being as interested in this before. So maybe I'll get it in trade down the road. Or if my shop keeps getting issues, maybe I'll pick them up off the rack again, depending on my mood. But the one thing I did, my big thought though was, if the God Machine is somewhere in and on Earth, just starting a nuclear war, that's just going to destroy a lot of life on Earth. If this machine is buried in a mountain or, under the Earth's mantle or whatever, it's not going to do them much good to start World War II, except that World War III, except that there may be no more human bodies to reincarnate into, I suppose. Let's see, how does she describe it? It's the magnet that keeps our souls trapped on Earth. Let's shut it off. I would if I knew where it was. We can't find it. We're not looking for a needle in a haystack. We're looking for a subatomic needle in a universe of haystacks, which must be an exaggeration if it's somewhere on Earth. But that implies it could be, to me, it implies it could be buried deep in the bowels of the planet or something, or anywhere. So, and then there's also one other god on this planet who's the warden, who keeps an eye on them, and he's showing up again. So it's pretty interesting stuff. I think maybe the first arc was too slow, I'm guessing now, because they wanted a whole volume to just be the introduction to the idea. And maybe, if it was one issue that had been an introduction idea, then skip to this stuff that is in issue 7, it might have grabbed me a lot more early on. Because there's so many stories about godlike beings, right? It's not, that in itself is not of interest to an older or a more experienced reader. Then from Scout Comics, another weirder company, is a weirder comic called Mullet Cop. And this is the second Mullet Cop one-shot. This one's called The Flavor of Danger. So I don't think there was any sign in Mullet Cop, the first Mullet Cop story, that there was going to be more. So I think it's totally down to it having sold well, at least for a Scout comic. And I think the art, which I enjoyed in the first volume, is even better here. Is it worth, as Taylor Winder asks, is it worth $7, $6.99? And I would say probably not. I think Mullet Cop is fun and it's odd and quirky, and I got all that from the first one shot. So if I hadn't read Mullet Cop before, I think I would have had even more fun with this issue, and its kind of tongue-in-cheek attitude. It's an odd comic just because I'm just, even the way the art's done, I guess a lot of it must be digital. I mean, it looks kind of like hand-drawn with these thin lines, but it must be digital. And they reuse a lot of faces and a lot of images in a way that I think is intended to be funny and odd purposefully. So, yeah, it's another one that if another Mullet Cop comes out, I guess it'll be a matter of my mood. Although I had to tell my shop to buy it and this, put it on my pull list, and this was the only copy he had. So I got this at my shop discount, which makes a difference at $7, 25% discount. But I could just, next time one comes around, not put it on my pull, and if I'm in the mood, pay full price at another shop. The bigger other shops will carry a lot of Scout comics, but not mine. Okay, now we're getting into the better comics, but still, this next one, I picked it up because I was curious. Rockin' Robbie on Pop Culture Philosophers, I think this was his pick of the week. It's Above Snakes by Sean Lewis, who's currently writing one of the Spawn books. Is it the main Spawn book for Todd McFarlane? With Hayden Sherman, a kind of... what's the right word? An indie-styled artist who has done some other work with Sean Lewis. Sean Lewis has been in Image Comics, has been kind of a quirky, interesting writer to follow. And this is an interesting, quirky, kind of fun comic, especially if you're into violent revenge fantasies. With a bit of a sense of humor, with a strong quirkiness. It takes place in some very imaginary version of the Wild West. It has someone who is maybe being kept alive by this spirit bird, but is at least spending a lot of time talking with this spirit bird. Maybe he's already dead since he's talking to it like a spirit vulture. So I enjoyed it. Do I need a whole lot more Western revenge fantasy comics? I feel like it's not my time for that kind of comic right now. But I don't know. So it's another one this one should be on the shelves at my shop, I think, with issue number 2 also. Because I just picked this up off the shelf. So I'll just make up my mind when we get there. Really like the color and the art. And the lettering by Hassam Otsami Elahu. I don't always like his lettering, but I liked it here. Has a nice loose feel to it that fits the comic. So anyway, yeah, if you're in the mood for quirky Western, quirky revenge fantasy, that's definitely would hit the spot. So that was number 4 out of 9. At number 3, I'm really, really enjoying A Town Called Terror. This is the 4th issue of it. I think I read the first 2 issues or the first 3 issues in a row, and it really caught my attention. It's very, what's that word? Not deconstructed. It's very stretched out, very decompressed is what the right word, decompressed storytelling. So only a certain amount happens in each issue when you get a lot of big pages. But the art and the story about this town of monsters, and one of the sons of a monstrous leader of the town wanted to escape and get sucked back in. And his father says, well, I brought you back because I want you to help me rescue your mother. And then and we already knew that in issue 3, but there's a really good twist here that I won't give away at the end of this comic, or even in the middle of this comic, that starts to get revealed, that kicks this up to another level. And there's lots of stuff in the art that has moved up to another level too. So very, very excited for more of this. I think there's only 6 issues, sadly, but maybe there's just 6 issues in the first arc and there'll be more arcs. That's what I'm hoping. In at number 2, the final climax of Norse mythology. These last 2 issues have been Ragnarok, and Ragnarok's something that's already spoiled to me, for sure, maybe for most people who know anything about Norse mythology. So it has less surprises than the other issues of Norse mythology, where even though I knew some version of the story, there was a lot of details that I didn't know that added a sense of humor or an extra layer to them. And this one does have some details I didn't know already, but it's still basically, the gods have one final battle, and we know, well, maybe you don't know, so I shouldn't say. But the art is fantastic, the color's fantastic, and it's a good, very strong conclusion to this 18-issue series, broken up into 3 6-issue series. So this is the end of Norse Mythology Volume 3. It's number 6. If you haven't read any of them, this might be a really good candidate to get when it's all in one big hardback, assuming the binding's really good, because you want to look at the art as much as you can. There's all kinds of fantastic art throughout the Norse mythology series. This final 2 issues were drawn by P. Craig Russell himself, who before was doing the story breakdowns and the scripting. So, and all based, of course, on the Neil Gaiman novel. So I'm really glad I stuck with this, and even though they clearly are not caring a whole lot about the monthly readers, it still made a great monthly read for these 18 months, and so very pleasing. So that was my penultimate favorite comic, and here's my favorite comic, 8 Billion Genies, number 3. And I swear we just had 8 Billion Genies, number 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks, possibly, but I think 2 weeks ago. And this does not let up. It continues to be weird, funny, thought-provoking, just phantasmagorical, and just plain goofy. So good in every way, except that I'm not a big fan of the coloring style, and I'm getting used to the rougher art style from Ryan Brown than on his previous works. But Ryan Brown and Charles Soule are a great team, and they bring us something that is, still got full storytelling, but just feels a little closer to the world of oddball indie comics also. So I feel like it's kind of the best of both worlds. Where they will go, I can't imagine, because what seems to be the pattern is the first issue was the first 8 minutes. The second issue was the first 8 hours of these 8 billion genies, and there's going to be 8 issues. The third issue, this issue, is the first 8 days, and they explicitly say, I believe, at the end, the next issue will be, where is it? There's some kind of preview, I thought, or no. Oh, it says, it took a mere 8 wish-filled days for humanity to enter the... Oh, I won't say that. What do you suppose will happen in the first 8 weeks? So the next issue would be the first 8 weeks, and then I assume we get the first 8 months, and then the first 8 years? And then what do we do? The first 8 decades? And then the first 8 centuries? I don't know how they'll play that as we get further into the series. But we could get quite a bit into the future of the world and its effects by having everybody in the world have one utterly magical, impossible wish that they can have come true. Very cool comic. I'm thirsty. Beer is probably not really the smart thing to have on a hot day. You should have water. But I'm being a bad boy. So I've started reading Captain Action. This is the first time these stories from DC Comics have been reprinted because they were based on a toy, I guess in like 1968 and 69. And the first issue is drawn by Wally Wood. Later issues are drawn by Gil Kane with inks by Wally Wood. Have I shown this already on a other video? I love looking at the art in here. I've started reading it. The script of the first issue, and maybe the first few issues, is by Jim Shooter when he was 16, and it's not interesting to read. It's so, hey, here's some guys, they get superpowers. Here's what one becomes good, one becomes evil. And it's not done with any sort of charm or pizzazz. I feel like a lot of his Legion of Superheroes comics did have some of that charm. But here, I don't know. And everything comes down to the editor, Mort Weisenberger, too, right? He's the one really in charge. Mort Weisinger, is that his name? Yeah, Mort Weisinger was the in charge of all this. But I will read further. I put it down because the first issue just seems so clunky. I'm sure if I were 8 years old, it would seem really cool. And there's lots of stuff aimed at 8-year-olds that still seems really cool to me, but it just didn't click right away. But an interesting thing, and it may not be an improvement, we'll see, is that after the first few issues, Gil Kane takes over the scripting. I haven't read a whole lot that Gil Kane scripted. Does this issue say even who did it? There's no credits in this issue. Okay, anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing what Gil Kane's own script is like. And then from the library, I got 4... I put all these books on hold. I've talked about that before. Put all these books on hold, but then I actually forgot to go pick them up within the time period that they keep them on hold for me. I was distracted by visitors and health issues in my family. Nothing serious, dental stuff. So I forgot to go pick up the things I had on hold. So I went to the library hoping they were still there somehow anyway, and they weren't. So I just picked some stuff off the graphic novel shelf. So I got this Mummies book, which is horror stories from, I believe, the 40s. Maybe some of 1953. This one has a credit from Harvey Comics. Death from the Tomb. This is one of those Yo books, which are a mixed bag in that at least Yo brings these things into print, but often he gets them into print first when someone else might have done a nicer reproduction of them. But anyway, it is what it is, and I'm looking forward to just sort of dipping into these. They look kind of dumb, actually. And then I picked up this volume of Flash Gordon on the Planet Mongo. I don't know if this is the first volume. I'm not sure when Flash Gordon started. It's the Sunday Flash Gordon strips from 1934 to 1937. And I'm pretty sure I've gotten this out of the library a few other times. I don't know if this very copy. Over the years, maybe over a period of 20 years, picking up things like Flash Gordon and reading a little bit of it. So I'll probably read a little bit of it and look at the art a lot. I don't know. Did he start in 1930 or 1934? Are these the first ones? It looks like the art gets, just looking at it upside down here, a little fancier as it goes along. So, I don't think Alex Raymond really lasted that long on Flash Gordon, even though it made his reputation. And then I don't know anything about this. I know that people say Jacques Tardy is really great. And there was a Jacques Tardy book. It's called Run Like Crazy, Run Like Hell. It looks like a crime novel. Julie, fresh out of the asylum, is hired as Peter's new nanny. When Peter's kidnapped, his abductors also nab Julie to serve as the scapegoat. But she proves a good deal tougher and more resourceful than they bargained for. I don't know if I've even looked inside this yet. The art style looks familiar to me, but I can't say from where. Maybe there are. I know Jacques Tardy is very famous, so maybe there are other people who've imitated him that I've seen. So we'll see. The thing with library books is, I most make sure to get through my weekly floppies, and then even the trades that I buy, like that Captain Action, may take me a while to dig into. So things from the library, sometimes I just breeze around them before having to return them to the library. But we'll see. Sometimes I read the whole thing, like I did with the 2 autobiographical comics I talked about last week. And then the other one I got, just picked off the shelf also, is the Ghost Script, a graphic novel by Jules Feiffer. I've seen people claim that Jules Feiffer not only wrote graphic novels before Will Eisner, but also that his are better. So I thought I'd give it a try and see. I don't know when this one originally came out. It probably is not one that came out early on. In fact, it's copyright 2018. Is Jules Feiffer still alive? Is he still creating? I got to say, the art isn't immediately appealing to me. I used to read Jules Feiffer's cartoons in the Village Voice back in the 70s. I'm not quite sure I think I used to find the Village Voice at the library. And I would sit in the library and read Village Voice and Rolling Stone, mostly for the rock and roll articles and record reviews. And then I would see the Jules Feiffer cartoon, which was usually like 8 panels of 2 people talking with each other. So anyway, I'll give that a try. So that pretty much sums up my week at this point. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.